Hello dear students, welcome to class 12 business studies. This is your part 2 of consumer protection chapter, that is chapter number 12. In your part 1, you have already covered two topics. One is the rights of consumers and second is responsibilities of consumer. So let us go ahead with this chapter. So if you can see this picture, here the consumer is saying, I filed a case against company for defective fridge and won that case. I wonder what I will get now. So from this, you'll be able to understand that here consumer is waiting for some reliefs. So now we are doing the topic remedies or relief to consumers. So if consumer court is satisfied about the genuineness of the complaint, it can issue one or more of the following directions to the opposite party. So first is to remove the defect in goods or deficiency in service. For example, if you bought a mobile and the mobile is not working properly, you will give it to the company and company will remove that defect. And same thing happens with the deficiency of service also. So if you are not satisfied with the service given, then if court is satisfied, they may tell the company to remove that deficiency in service. Second is to replace the defective product with new one free from defect. So again, I can take the same example. You got a mobile and your mobile is defective. In this case, court may order that company to replace your defective mobile with a new one that is free from any defect. Third is to refund the price paid for the product or the charges paid for the service. So again, I'm going back to the same example. You bought a mobile and your mobile is not working properly. You filed a case and you won that case. In that case, court will order that company to refund the price which you paid for that particular product. So it's very easy if you remember these three keywords: remove, replace, refund. Okay. Next remedy is to pay a reasonable amount of compensation for any loss or injury suffered by customer due to negligence of opposite party. So this I have discussed earlier also. If you face any injury or loss due to the defective product or defective service given to you, even court may order that particular company to pay you compensation for that loss or injury suffered. Next is to discontinue the unfair restrictive trade practice and not to repeat in the future. So if firm is indulging in any unfair trade practice like hoarding, black marketing, underweighing. What do you mean by underweighing is when the weight written is on the package is more, but the actual weight in that packet is less. That is underweighing. Then there may be false advertising where you are claiming that your product has certain features or qualities which are actually not there. So if a case is filed for such unfair practices, court may order the company to discontinue with those unfair or restrictive trade practices. Next is to pay the punitive damages in appropriate circumstances. Now, first of all, we should know what you mean by punitive. It is to withdraw the hazardous good from sale. For the same case, again, if goods are declared hazardous, the court will order the company to withdraw those hazardous goods from sale, and whatever goods are available in the market, they have to take all that stock back. Next is to cease manufacturing of hazardous goods and to desist from offering hazardous services. Now again, it is again related to hazardous good. If your goods are being declared hazardous for the health of customers, you have to stop or cease the manufacturing of those goods. So you can see that these three reliefs are related to the hazardous goods. Next is to pay an amount not less than 5% of the value of defective goods or deficient services provided to be credited to a consumer welfare fund or any other organization or person to be utilized in a prescribed manner. So, quote, apart from the above remedies, is to withdraw the hazardous good from sale. For the same case, again, if goods are declared hazardous, the court will order the company to withdraw those hazardous goods from sale, and whatever goods are available in the market, they have to take all that stock back. Next is to cease manufacturing of hazardous goods and to desist from offering hazardous services. Now, again, it is again related to hazardous good. If your goods are being declared hazardous for the health of customers, you have to stop or cease the manufacturing of those goods. So you can see that these three reliefs are related to the hazardous goods. Next is to pay an amount not less than 5% of the value of defective goods or deficient services provided to be credited to a consumer welfare fund or any other organization or person to be utilized in a prescribed manner. So, quote, apart from the above remedies, it's a punishment. So, punitive means punishment. So, court will put some penalty also on a company as it may be a fine as a punishment of the wrong act done by them or the wrong goods supplied with them or a wrong service provided by them. Next is not to offer hazardous goods in the market. So if a particular good is being declared as unsafe for human consumption, the court will ask that company that they will not offer that hazardous goods for sale in the market. May tell the company to pay 5% of the defective goods or services. This money is to be transferred to a fund called as Consumer Welfare Fund, or they may tell you to put it in some other government fund. So you, apart from the other things, company also has to pay 5% to the Consumer Welfare Fund. And how this 5% will be calculated is, if the compensation amount is 10,000, so that 10,000 will be given to the customer. Apart from that, 5% of 10,000, that is 500 rupees, will be transferred to Consumer Welfare Fund. Next is to issue corrective advertisement to neutralize the effect of misleading advertisement. If a company is advertising the products and the advertisement is considered misleading by court, then in that case, the company has to make a new advertisement, a correct advertisement, and they have to advertise it again and again in different medias so that it can neutralize the effect of that old misleading advertisement which is now being banned. Next is to pay an adequate cost to the party. So what I mean by adequate cost is whenever you are filing a case, not only the compensation is paid for the product cost which you have lost, there are certain other costs also which are added, like your cost of filing a case and other thing. So the total compensation paid will be more than the actual cost of the goods or the service which you have lost. So the next topic is, who is consumer? So this is the definition of consumer according to Consumer Protection Act 1986, and you can see that in this definition there are two parts. This is part 1 and this is part 2. So the thing is, you need to remember both these parts word by word, because I told you what is the difference between meaning and definition is. Meaning can be written in your own words, but when you get a question, define something, it has to be there according to the language given by author or language given by some act. So you need to learn this definition exactly. And I'll tell you one easy way to learn this definition with these two parts. What you have to do is, you can see here the definition. Consumer is defined as any person who buys any good. So it is very important that you should not get any product for free. You should buy that good for a consideration. Now what do you mean by consideration here is, you should pay something for purchase goods. Like normally when we buy goods, what we pay is money. So buys goods for a consideration which has been paid. So means you are paying for the product which you have purchased, or promised. So what is the difference between paid or promised is, here you are paying the money, these are the cash purchases, but what is promise is when you're purchasing things on credit. So in that case you will be called as consumer. Or partly paid and partly promised. Now what do you mean by partly paid and partly promised is, for example, if you're buying something for 30,000 and you're paying 10,000 in cash and 20,000 you're promising to pay later. In that case, it is partly paid and partly promised. In that case also you will be considered as consumer. Or under any system of deferred payment. Now what do you mean by deferred payment is, many a times we buy goods on installment where we defer the payment for 1 year or 2 years and we pay in installment. So in such case also you will be called as consumer. And include any user of such goods when such use is made with the approval of buyer. So if I am buying something and with my approval someone else is using that product, that person will also be called as consumer. So if I am buying an electric iron, I am a consumer. My domestic help is using an electric iron with my approval. In that case, she will also be called as consumer. But it does not include a person who obtain goods for resale or any commercial purpose. So it's very important to know that if somebody is buying goods for resale or for commercial purpose, that person will not come under the category of consumer. So if you can see here, there are 3 things basically which you need to remember. One is you must buy the goods. It may be paid, promise, partly paid, partly promise, or under the system of deferred payment. The thing is, you should buy the goods. Second is, if somebody else is using that product with your approval or the approval of consumer, that person will also be considered as consumer. And the third thing you need to remember is, a person who buys goods for resale or commercial purpose, they will not be called as consumer. So you need to remember these 3 things, and if you read it again and again, you will be able to remember the definition exactly the way it is given in the Act. So I hope with this you are able to do the definition. Now please remember, this is part 1, but part 2 is also very easy. Any person, so consumer is defined as any person who buys any goods. So I'm replacing buys any goods with hires or avail any service. Then rest will remain same, for a consideration which has been paid or promised, or partly paid and partly promised, or under the system of deferred payment. And with the user of goods, I am replacing it with the user of service. So it will be it, and includes any beneficiary of service when such services are availed with the approval of buyer. But it does not include a person who obtain goods. So again I am replacing this goods with services. So it will be, it does not include a person who avails such services for any commercial purpose. So have you seen that if you remember the first part, the second part is only that you have to replace goods with services. So it's very important that you know the exact definition of consumer according to Consumer Protection Act. Now let us revise what we have done. State whether following are treated as consumer under Consumer Protection Act. Nikita purchased washing machine for her house. So she is purchasing. So answer is yes, she is consumer. Second, Rakesh purchased DVD player for resale. So you know that if somebody is buying something for resale or commercial purpose, that person will not be considered as consumer. Next is Utkarsh uses new internet connection purchased by his father. So here the service internet connection is bought by Utkarsh father, but Utkarsh is using it. So will Utkarsh be called as consumer? Answer is yes, because he is using it with the approval of consumer. Ajay got his eye operated from a free eye cam. So tell me, is he paying for this service? So answer is no. So please remember, Ajay is not a consumer. Next, Swati bought a new mobile phone where she paid cash down of rupees 5,000 and balance in 12 equal installments. So here you can see that she is paying cash and rest money she is having a deferred payment. So since she is paying for it, Swati is a consumer. Now you can see this question, a very important question. This has appeared in one of the board exam. I'll read out this question for you. But before that, I always tell you, whenever some case study comes, don't read the case study first. First read the question. So the question is, can Bharat Electricals file a complaint in the consumer court against the manufacturer of electric iron? Give reason in support of your answer. And then you have to write, who can file a complaint as per provisions of Consumer Protection Act 1986? Prakhar purchased an ISI mark electric iron from Bharat Electricals. While using, he found that it was not working properly. He approached the seller and complained for the same. The seller satisfied Prakhar by saying that he will ask the manufacturer to replace this iron. The manufacturer refused to replace, and Bharat Electrical decided to file a complaint in the consumer court. So now, first of all, you have to find out, can Bharat Electricals file a complaint? Now here you can see who is the actual consumer is Prakhar. Prakhar is buying goods from Bharat Electricals, and Bharat Electricals, they are purchasing goods for resale. So can they file a case? The answer is no. And the reason is, the person who obtained goods for resale is not a consumer. So you need to write the reason why Bharat Electricals cannot file a complaint. Next is, who can file a complaint? So according to Consumer Protection Act, a complaint before the appropriate consumer forum can be made by any consumer, and in this case there is no need for consumer to take the services of any advocate or professional. The consumer himself or herself can file a complaint. Any registered consumer organization or association can also file a case on behalf of consumer. Then central government or any state government. Fourth, one or more consumers on behalf of numerous consumers having the same interest. So if some problem is faced by many consumers, it is not essential that all of them they should file a complaint. One or more consumers on the behalf of other consumers which are facing same problem can file a case. And fifth is the legal heir or representative of deceased consumer. The consumer is no more there, then his legal representatives or legal heirs can file a case against the particular company for any defective goods or services provided. Now the next topic is against whom a complaint can be filed. In case of defective goods supplied, a complaint can be filed against manufacturer or a seller or a dealer. And in case of deficient services, complaint can be filed against the provider of services. So whether you are getting defective goods or deficient services, complaint can be filed against manufacturer, seller or the supplier of services. So students, the topics which we have covered till now are, in the first part we did rights and the responsibilities of consumers, and the part 2 of the video we have covered the reliefs, then who is consumer, who can file a case, and against whom the case can be filed. So we have already covered these topics, so we are left with only few topics which will be covered in part 3 of this video. Meanwhile, I want all of you to check our business studies blog. This blog has all the questions, case studies, assignment, quizzes based on the chapters. So the name of this blog is www.bstclass12.blogspot.com. So you can visit this blog. So I wish you all a happy learning. Bye.